Okay.
All right. I call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the March 5th, 2026 HRC meeting. I will now ask the Principal Management Analyst to take attendance by roll call.
Thank you, Chair. Committee Member Lester, here. Committee Member McDonald, Committee Member Smith, here. Committee Member Webb,
Here.
Vice Chair Chadwell, here. And Chair Flick.
Here, thank you. The minutes for the February 5th, 2026 regular meeting have been delivered to the committee members and posted on the City Hall bulletin board. If there are no corrections or additions, a motion is in order to approve these minutes. Do I hear a motion? Oh, all right. All those in favor, say aye. 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 Motion carries. Item 4, oral communications from the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the committee on any matter not on the agenda. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes to make their comments. State law prohibits the committee from acting on non-agenda items. For those attending the meeting via Zoom, please use the raise your hand function or press *9 on your phone to make comments. The committee will receive an in-person comment first. Uh, Seeing that we have no in-person and any on Zoom.
No comments.
Okay, seeing none, we'll close and move on to item 5, unfinished business. Item 5.1, Know Your Rights Ad Hoc Committee. The Know Your Rights Ad Hoc Committee will now present an oral update. So we are seeing progression in the Know Your Rights Ad Hoc Committee. We had a committee member, Lester, attend the Youth Advisory Committee, where we got a lot of information on what kind of Know Your Rights sessions the youth would like to hear, mainly on like First Amendment rights, right? So we'll be exploring what kind of community-based organizations could possibly lead those trainings and the timeline of when those would be hosted. We are still communicating with their partners with respects to labor rights. Vice Chair Chadwell will be communicating with someone from the Senior Advisory Committee with regards to senior rights as well. So any questions from the committee members with what the Know Your Rights Ad Hoc Committee is doing? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the Civic Participation Ad Hoc Committee. The Civic Participation Ad Hoc Committee will present an oral update. No action will be taken on this time. Committee Member Lester.
Thank you, Chair. We had to reschedule our working meeting today where we were planning to analyze the data as a committee that we've collected, but just to remind the committee, we have collected 17 responses in English and 20 in Spanish from our HRC Civic Participation Survey. We also do have in-person notes and other responses reported earlier in this process from myself and former committee member Sylvester and the other committees as well, or committee members as well. And so it's just a matter of doing that data analysis, and then we will be able to bring back those responses to the committee that will hopefully inform staff work and our work as a committee going forward.
Thank you, Committee Member Lester. Any questions for the committee member on this ad hoc committee? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to the Human Library Ad Hoc Committee. The Human Library Ad Hoc Committee will present an oral update. No action will be taken on this item.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be providing the update for the Human Library Committee, and unfortunately, I have to share with you that the Human Library has ceased providing services in their operations in the United States at this time. They're an international organization based in Copenhagen, and they had liaisons in the United States that were based, I believe, on a grant that was federally funded. That was then pulled, and the organization made the decision to cease operations in the US. So unfortunately, we will be unable to hold that event.
Thank you for the update. Do any of the committee members have any questions with respects to this ad hoc committee? Oh, Committee Member Lester?
We don't exactly.
I believe that there were two reasons. One was a lack of funding support, and then the second, which was strongly implied by our contact in Copenhagen, was a sense of instability.
Hmm.
No longer want to do that type of work. But I know.
Any further question, Vice Chair?
I have a question for staff. Just how does this affect the work plan? They just call it closed or complete or?
That's a great question. Yeah, so for the updates to the work plan, that I typically bring to you in May when we begin conversations about the next work plan and future projects. I'll note that the project's closed out and, was no longer an option. And I will also note that staff did explore options for running the event ourselves, but the Human Library does have a long contact list and established relationships with people who've been trained and often volunteer to do these types of events, which can be intense. And the only option for us to work with them on it was to become trained to basically do the liaison role ourselves, which is not something we have the capacity to do at this time.
Any other questions from the committee before we move? It's unfortunate. Maybe hopefully in the future this is something that the HRC could visit. Moving on to item 6, CDBG and home funding recommendations for fiscal year 2026-27 annual action plan. The Human Relations Committee will hold a public hearing to hear funding staff recommendations for fiscal year 2026 to 27 annual action plan and make funding recommendation for the city council's consideration. Action will be taken on this item. Alec Fibero, a housing officer, will present this item. Affordable Housing Manager Julie Bernard is also available to answer any questions. Please take it away.
Thank you. Hello, it's good to see you all again. Hope you're doing well. My name is Alec, housing officer. I'm joined by Julie Bernard, Affordable Housing Manager. And today I will be giving you a presentation on fiscal year 2026-2027 election plan grant funding recommendations. Staff will present the funding recommendations for the use of federal grants and city general funds and request that the HRC hold a public hearing to receive input.
Is it not?
It's a little slow.
Okay, I can do it.
So the city is developing its fiscal year 2026-27 annual action plan, which is the second year the city's 2025-30 consolidated plan that the HRC reviewed and provided input on at last year's meeting in April. The 2026-27 annual action plan covers the period of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. The action plan is required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Development in order to receive federal grant funding and identifies the specific projects and activities that will be administered over the fiscal year. The CDBG program provides funds to help address development needs. A maximum of 15% for public services, such as services for seniors and persons experiencing homelessness. A maximum of 20% can be used for program administration. The remaining funds can be used for other eligible activities, such as capital projects, including the rehabilitation of affordable housing and minor home repairs for low and moderate income homeowners, or economic development activities, including assistance for small businesses. The HOME program provides funding to help fund the development of affordable housing and related programs. HOME funding allows a maximum of 10% to be used for program administration, while the remaining amount is used for eligible activities such as site acquisition, construction and rehabilitation of affordable housing, and home buyer assistance. Before we get into the fiscal year 26-27 funding recommendations, we did want to provide an update on current funding, which will help set the stage as we talk about next year's funding. In spring of last year, the HRC and Council approved the fiscal year 2025-26 annual action plan. And when HUD sent the city its grant agreements, they included a new addendum that would impose new conditions requiring compliance with certain federal policy directives. Examples of the new policy conditions include prohibitions and restrictions on using funds to promote gender ideology, elective abortions, or illegal immigration. The absence of clarity regarding federal agencies' interpretation and implementation of the conditions has created a high degree of uncertainty for funding recipients, including the city. Staff conducted an analysis and, based on this analysis, undertook the following actions. Joined litigation to challenge the legality of the new policy conditions. Submitted modified grant agreements to HUD that temporarily prevent the enforcement of the new policy conditions and will only use prior year grant funds and program income, which were deemed not subject to the new policy conditions. The analysis that staff conducted was also used to inform the approach for the fiscal year 26-27 annual action plan. Staff are using scenario A as the primary planning assumption for the next fiscal year, which includes the submittal of modified grant agreements and prioritizing the use of prior year funds and program income deemed not subject to the addendum's policy conditions. Now that we've discussed the strategy, we can move on to the fiscal year 26-27 annual action plan. The budget for the action plan consists of the annual entitlement funding allocation, anticipated program income, and prior year unexpended resources. The proposed CDBG funding allocations will be discussed in the following slides. The city's home funds will be used for affordable housing projects and will be directly allocated when projects are identified. The city is currently working off of funding estimates, as HUD has not yet released the final CDBG and home entitlement allocations. If the final allocations differ from the estimates, then staff will adjust the recommendations proportionally. Public service funding is administered on a 2-year cycle, and fiscal year 26-27 is the second year in the cycle. For this reason, the CDBG public service funding recommendations are the same as they were for last year, fiscal year 25-26, which was year 1 in the cycle. Due to anticipated funding limitations, there will not be enough CDBG funding to fully fund each organization at the same levels as year 1. So staff are recommending that general housing funds be used to supplement each CDBG award to maintain full funding levels for year 2 of the cycle. The recommended CDBG funding allocation to nonprofit partners for fiscal year 26-27 totals $373,831. Due to continued uncertainty about changing federal grant requirements, for fiscal year 26-27, staff are also recommending one-time contingency funding in this amount from General Housing Fund to support CDBG-funded nonprofit partners. This contingency funding will only be required if program income and prior year unexpended funds become unavailable. This approach will help us to continue to fully fund our nonprofit partners and therefore mitigate any potential service disruptions to our community. As mentioned, fiscal year 26-27 is the second year in the 2-year funding cycle, and therefore the general fund public service funding recommendations are remaining the same as year 1.
Sorry, I'm helping.
The funding recommendations from today's meeting will be brought to the City Council at the meeting on April 28th. And between now and then, there will be a 30-day comment period for members of the public to provide their feedback on the draft annual action plan. The final action plan will be submitted to HUD by May 15th, pending the release of the city's final funding allocations. And this concludes staff presentation. Thank you for your time, and we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Alec, for your presentation. I now invite the committee to ask any clarifying questions that they have for staff. Discussion and action on these items will take place after the public hearing. Does the committee have any clarifying questions? And I'll call on you once I see your hand. Vice Chair Shuttle?
Thank you for that presentation. Can you help me better understand? So I'm looking at on page 9, the CDBG public service funding recommendations. I understand the recommendation for supplementing from the general fund. Can you help me understand, like, how did we determine how much needs to be supplemented and versus how much? How is it that we're still getting any funding from CDBG if it's kind of all up in the air?
Yes, so HUD did, so CDBG funds are dependent on the federal budget. Federally, the government did budget CDBG funds for the next year at the same levels as the current year. So we're anticipating a similar entitlement amount. What's different is we're estimating slightly less program income. When calculating the amount that you can use for public services for CDBG, there's a formula that needs to be used. That basically equates to 15% of your entitlement allocation and your anticipated program income. So since we're anticipating a little bit less program income, the amount that we are allowed to use for public services is slightly less than last year. Therefore, in order to maintain full funding levels, we are using general housing fund to fill the gap. Does that help answer the question?
I think so. I guess just this the estimated funding that will be received or is estimated to be received from CDBG. Is it possible that that funding, like, you know, we don't know how things are going to shake out with litigation and with modified grant agreements and things like that.
Mhm.
Is it possible that we get to the time that this money needs to be awarded and it comes with that addendum with strings attached, and then the city has to decide, what do we do now? You
Yeah,
know, it's-
absolutely. So part of the actions the city are taking in response to the addendum is prioritizing the use of prior year funds and program income, which were by CAO's analysis to not be subject to the new policy requirements. And thankfully, due to large loan repayments we received over the past years, we have enough of a balance of program income to cover the items that we're presenting here today. Therefore, we will not have to use any of the next year's entitlement funding, which we assume will have the addendum attached to it.
Got it. So this is what would be estimated if we were to use the entitlement funding. We might not even use it, and if we don't use it, then we do have a backup plan of how to cover it from the general fund.
More or less, yeah.
Okay. Excellent, thank you.
Any other
Yeah,
questions?
quick one.
Committee
On
member
that,
Webb?
so if we are not using it this year, those funds, then we will run into that same issue next year. Is that what you're saying? And then we'll have to go through that calculation again and then worry about the entitlements. Is that correct?
Yeah, so for when we're back here at this time next year, it's gonna be a whole new ballgame. As things continue to change and evolve, the situation could be drastically different than it is tonight. I would say thankfully, the city has enough program income on hand, which is not subject to the addendum requirements, that we are able to, for the most part, keep our CDBG subrecipients funded for another year. At this time next year, we'll have to, you know, based on how things may or may not play out with litigation, see where things stand.
Committee member Smith?
So, quick question. There's like a few really simple versions of this real quick. So like money A from previous situations that is not subjected even after things. Money A, what if we just kept money A separate and then money B comes in with strings attached? We only give money B like easily away to anybody that does meet that, but then we keep money A to fill in those gaps of people that cannot meet those strings attached situations. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think that could be a potential scenario. Although we have had discussions with majority of our subrecipients and they do not want to accept funds if we are complying with those conditions at all.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I agree.
And this is, and to add, we joined in as a plaintiff, right? And just a
Yeah.
case where we're going against,
Yeah,
The-
we're filing lawsuits.
right,
Yeah.
against like what they're saying, like what we can't support, right? Or so
Yeah.
some of the subsidies. Like, okay.
I'm sorry, is there a title of the case, or like if I wanted to look it up and learn more about it, like?
It's in the memorandum.
Yeah, I see. So
It's I have.
Oh.
We'll follow up on that later.
Yeah,
It's Fresno versus Turner in the case. Any other questions? committee with respects to item 6.1? I have a couple, then if you don't mind. So, yeah, I think you briefly touched on this, but like, are we expecting even further drops in program income in the years to come?
So program income is, the city receives its program income largely from loan repayments, from when the city has made CDBG or home loans to developments in the past. Those loan repayments really fluctuate each year, and it's impossible to tell until the developments have completed their annual calendar year analysis of their finances. So for example, they will be submitting those analysis of their finances soon here in the spring, and that will tell us how much we can expect to receive from program income for the next fiscal year. So it's certainly possible that there could be drops in program income, but alternatively, it could also stay the same or even. We've seen pretty similar levels of program income consistently over the past, 2-3 years.
Got it. And then my second question was with respects to the general housing fund. Was it selected as a pot to be pulled from because it was the only feasible source of income to pull from, or was there other funding options considered to be able to supplement?
General housing fund was the sole funding source considered in this scenario.
Was there a reason why the other like? Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'm
Hi.
Ivana, Affordable Housing Manager. Well, so our housing funds have some restrictions and some allowances, and it was found that our source of funding, like a general fund, general fund, is very precious. We have our own housing fund, and these were eligible expenses under our housing fund, and we just felt like it was the best fit for the funding and for the sense of our programs. Make sure that we can make our nonprofits whole where we can.
Which is great. I think where I want to go with this too, which was like part of the memo was also mentioning potential impacts on some of the housing initiatives in future years. What were those housing initiatives that potentially could be impacted?
Lack of CDBG funding?
Or from being from the housing
Oh, I see. From utilizing our housing funds, what are we impacting?
Yeah.
In the short term, nothing. So right now we do have some unencumbered balance, a sufficient amount to cover the amount that we're proposing to make profit partners whole. So we're not in the immediate future taking anything away from our housing projects and programs, but just to share what we do in the housing department, the lion's share of our funding goes to funding affordable housing developments, such as the one across the street at Block 12. You probably saw broke ground, very exciting this week. So projects like that is what our housing funds typically go towards, but we do also have some smaller programs. We're working on a small first-time homebuyers assistance program, some of the acquisition preservation initiatives, and that sort of thing. So,
And then my last question is, so pending litigation, I know there's going to be a lot of back and forth of like what's going to go to council. Is it feasible for some of the information to also come back to the HRC on updates on federal litigation impacts to like the CDBG funds, so we know like how that's going to impact future home CDBG outputs?
Yeah, thank
Or
you.
should that even come to us?
I don't think that would come through us. I think our city attorney has been managing the litigation, and we don't really have anything to do with that. I think we'll just defer to staff to see if there's any updates we can provide you with if and when we have any further updates than we have today.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Any further questions from the committee before we move on? Okay. So thank you for that. And then, oops. Okay, and then, so now we'll move forward towards the recusal of the, committee. Is it public comment? Oh, did it, no, recusal. Yeah. Yeah, before we begin the public hearing, the committee discussion on these items, the consideration of the funding recommendations for the community service agency requires a member of the committee to recuse themselves due to a potential conflict of interest. After making a statement of recusal, the committee member will leave the room. I will then open a public hearing at which members of the public may comment on the community services agency funding recommendations. Following the close of the public hearing, the committee will proceed to discuss and take action of the community services agency funding recommendations only. Following the committee's action, the committee member will return to the meeting and the committee will proceed to hold public hearing, discuss, and take action on the remainder of the staff recommendations. Can the committee member with a conflict of interest please make your recusal statement?
Yes, thank you, Chair Flickwan. Vice Chair Chadwell, am recusing myself from discussion of the Community Services Agency funding recommendations due to my position on the board of the Community Services Agency. I have not participated and will not be participating in the recommendation to council regarding CSA funding in any way.
You, Vice Chair. All right, the committee will now proceed to discuss the Community Services Agency funding recommendations. All other funding recommendations will be discussed when Vice Chair Chadwell returns. As a reminder, the staff recommendation is to fund the Community Services Agency homelessness prevention and senior case management services from the combination of CDBG and supplemental funds totaling $64,878, and to fund the senior nutrition program for $18,489.64 from the city's general fund. I will now open the public hearing on the Community Services Agency funding recommendations. There will be an opportunity to comment on the rest of the funding recommendations when Vice Chair Chadwell returns. Would any member of the public like to comment on the Community Services Agency funding recommendation? If so, please submit a blue card to staff. If you've not done so already, they're found in the front of the room, noting that you'd like to speak on the CSA recommendation only. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes if submitted. There's none. Okay, and
Oh, wait,
do you
we have one online.
Oh, okay. They want-
Milton Cadena?
Perfect, Milton, you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Milton Cadena here from Catholic Charities of Santa Clara County. Today's
Catholic
specific-
Charities?
Hi, Milton. This is only for the Community Services Agency that we're
okay.
here. If you want to wait a little bit, we'll then hear.
Sorry,
the
will
other
do.
agencies.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Milton. Okay,
No other hands.
all right. Thank you. So I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the committee for deliberation and action on the Community Services Agency funding recommendation. A motion is required to take action on this item. So I will now entertain a motion. Or we can discuss.
To advance the funding recommendation to council.
Okay, so committee member Lester motions to move the staffing recommendation to council. Do I hear a second? I saw committee member McDonald. Second, is by all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Back Vice Chair Chadwell. Thank you all. That was very quick.
No,
Can I get you some
Pretty
water?
sound that was weird. When you said it, I was like, oh, that's how you.
thank you.
I was like, just the one.
Yes, the
I
one.
messed up the word.
That was good.
I will now open the public hearing on the rest of the funding recommendations. Would any member of the public like to comment on this item? If so, please submit a blue speaker card to the staff if you have not done so already. All right, and seeing that we have none in person, but one over Zoom. We have two. All right, each speaker will have 3 minutes.
First, we have Keith Ogden.
Go ahead, Keith.
Hi, yes, good evening, members of the Mountain View Human Relations Committee. My name is Keith Ogden, and I am a managing attorney with the Housing Tenants Rights Program at Community Legal Services in East Palo Alto. Can I confirm that you can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, wonderful. So I'd just like to thank you for including the Housing Help Center, Eviction Defense, Housing Legal Services in the fiscal year 27 budget for public services. These services are sorely needed. To report back, CLESPA's housing team opened 77 cases for Mountain View households last year, and 60% of them related to eviction, which is always the most sorely needed service. Second, I just wanted to comment that we do at CLESPA applaud the city of Mountain View for joining the lawsuit that I've heard discussed tonight against the administration to challenge the legality of new conditions attached to CDBG and other federal funding. So thank you for that. And again, just thank you for your time and for receiving public comment on this matter.
Thank you.
Next, we have Georgia Basile.
Go ahead, Georgia. You got 3
Thank
minutes.
Good evening, Georgia Basile. I'm the directing attorney of Senior Adults Legal Assistance, as SALA. We provide free civil legal services to Mountain View residents 62 or older, targeting clients that are low income or at risk of abuse or loss of independence. Last year, 77% of the Mountain View seniors we served were very low income. They could not afford a private attorney, and 66% were 75 or older, placing them at higher risk of isolation or loss of independence. We provide our services locally at appointments at Mountain View Senior Center and by phone for clients that can't leave their homes or with emergencies. We are a current CDBG grantee, and we thank you so sincerely. Your funding enables us to provide expanded availability of our services to your elderly residents. We're recommended for funding in the 26-27 Action Plan memo on page 7. That is before you, and we thank the staff for that recommendation. We can't charge fees or take fee-generating cases to support our services. So the primary way that we can get support is through grants like CDBG. And in this current, very uncertain funding climate, your funding is more critical than ever to help us provide the highest level of service possible to your elder residents. So we hope the Commission will recommend approval of the 26-27 Annual Action Plan funding recommendations. And thank you again so much for your support and for the opportunity to comment this evening.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have Milton Cadena.
Milton, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on behalf of our program. I'm the program director for the senior services of Catholic Charities Santa Clara County. And today, specifically, I want to say thank you to this commission and the city of Mountain View for the recommendation of a second-year cycle. We just received information that there was a recommendation to renew 13,589 for a second year, and we truly appreciate because we did that to sustain our program. The program specifically that we sustain with this funding is the Ombudsman Program, which solely purposes to investigate and resolve complaints made by or on behalf of residents related to issues of quality of care and abuse in long-term care facilities. I'm happy to report that from the 3 skilled nurse facilities and 4 RCFEs that we visit in Mountain View, totaling 340 beds, we have done 50 direct visits, of which 22 have been investigation case related, and we have provided at least 45 incoming calls to provide information and assist. I appreciate the work and advocacy that you do for us for funding, and I truly appreciate that. And I would like to support the recommendations for this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I will now close public hearing and bring the item back to the committee for
I
deliberation.
have a question.
Real quick. An action funding recommendations excluding the Community Services Agency recommendation. Motion is required to take action on this item. Committee Member McDonald.
Well, I don't think that tonight we could get this information, but subsequently, I think it would be very helpful for us to know how many clients each of these groups actually works with or had worked with in the previous year or the ongoing year, so that we have a sense of success numbers, number one, and also whether the need is increasing, staying on a level playing field, or decreasing.
So, committee member, and please correct me, staff, if I'm wrong in saying this. So we're just renewing from the previous year. So these are the previous applicants from the ones we already approved for from 2025 to 26.
Right.
We're renewing this for the recommended amount with a little bit less based off what was already what we can allot given the current circumstances. I think for the following year, based off the new applicants, will be able to assess what the impact for that community has been for Mountain View residents.
I figured it was important to say it now rather than next year when it's sort of a fait accompli.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think they'll definitely take note of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can provide some additional comment as well.
Yeah.
So this upcoming fall, we'll come back, or actually next spring, we'll come back to you with funding recommendation for the next 2-year cycle. At that time, we'll include all the information that we gave to you last year, which includes information about each organization, their programs, and how many people they aim to serve. Additionally, if you are interested in looking at the accomplishment data for each of the CDBG funded subrecipients, we complete an annual report for HUD called the CAPER, stands for Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. It's due to HUD by September 30th each year. So around that time in the fall, you can find drafts online for public comment, and then once it's finalized, that final version will be available online as well. But that provides a summary of what the city and our nonprofit partners were able to accomplish over the prior fiscal year using the grant funding.
Thanks, Alec. Val? Remember, thank you.
It's just not here, but they have the info.
Yeah. Okay.
Quick question. Does that CAPER report go to any committees or just directly to council or?
It usually goes directly to council.
No, I'll bring it back. A motion is required for this item. I do want to ask Principal Management Analyst Laurel on a previous question I had on the if it's appropriate for HRC to get updates on the federal litigation impacts. Would that be a motion to?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. That wouldn't need to be a motion. We can just do that at the staff level, and I'm happy to provide updates.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So would anyone want the motion for this item?
I'd like to motion.
Okay. What's your motion?
Have access to the updates of the pending case. Where's no Turner?
No.
Okay, I'll do the motion.
Thank
Motion to go forward with that.
To move staff recommendation?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
with staff. What you were talking?
Okay. Do I hear a
We
second?
were talking about two
I will
different things.
second the motion. to
Okay,
approve that
I hear a second
I
from
can-
Vice
I
Chair
can do that.
Chadwell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You didn't have to ask.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you so much, staff.
Go back to the other one now.
So much for being here tonight.
No, once it's settled, then we're gonna get access
Great to
to
see
it.
y'all.
We're gonna get updates.
All right. All right,
She
y'all.
said she couldn't do it unless we
All
had.
right, I'm gonna bring it back. Moving on to new business, election of the committee, chair and vice chair. The committee will act on this item. The principal management analyst will now explain the chair and vice chair roles and responsibilities, as well as the election process.
Thank you, Chair. As you may recall, annually we elect a new chair and vice chair for the HRC. The chair and the vice chair role entail meeting with me before every meeting to review the agenda. They entail chairing the meetings, obviously, and for the vice chair in the absence of the chair chairing the meetings. They can also include public-facing activities such as providing an interview or a presentation for the annual Celebration of Service Awards. Additionally, they can include, again, some ceremonial duties related to things like the Multicultural Festival or HRC events, including welcomes, etc. In addition to that, in the upcoming year, we'll be introducing chair and vice chair training for all boards, commissions, and committees. So that will be part of the duties, as well as taking an active role in managing the committee's affairs and working with members if there is and accommodations. Would the chair or vice chair like to add additional information about the role?
No, I think it's pretty straight forward. Pretty much you are, as you see me do, hopefully, to the extent that I've been able to, you ensure there's structure in the meeting and that we move forward with it at a reasonable pace so we can get through all of the items at a fast enough pace, as well as meet consistently with staff on the agenda items that we present in y'all to on our meeting dates. But yeah, it's been honestly an honor to be able to chair with you this past year. So I'm looking forward to under the new chair and vice chair being a regular committee member.
Thank you, Chair. And I do want to mention, as you have access to me as a committee member, anytime you want to chat about something or learn more about the city's offerings or discuss committee business, as chair or vice chair, you will also have access to me to all the same things and then discussing any chair or vice chair issues. So with that, I would like to review the election process that we complete annually. First, the chair will ask for nominations. Any committee member may nominate themselves or another committee member to serve as chair. And if the chair isn't re-nominated, they may continue to facilitate the election process. A second is not necessary to put someone up for the office of chair, to nominate someone for the office of chair, but it is also an option if you would like to second the nomination of someone else. The chair will ask nominees if they're willing to serve in that capacity, just to make sure that only those who are willing to are selected as chair. And then we will repeat that as necessary until there are no further nominations. The chair will close the nomination and then a vote will begin. I will do a roll call vote for each nomination. They will be voted upon in the order that they are made. And then the nominee receiving a majority of the vote will be elected. Then that chair-elect will facilitate the same process for the selection of vice chair. Any questions? All right, thank you, Chair.
Do you have any questions?
I have a question on, I don't know what page this is.
Where?
The counseling and support services for youth, Cassie. I'm just curious.
Committee member McDonald, we're on item 7 now.
Oh,
Yeah, we're on the new business for the election of the new chair.
So we'll move forward.
okay, I'm out of order.
We'll
Yeah,
come back
no,
to it.
you're okay, you're okay.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. So would any member of the public on the line like to provide any comment on this item? Being none in person.
So that's.
No one online.
Perfect. All right. I will now open it up for nominations. Are there nominations for the office of the chair? And I'll wait just a second. There it is. So, all right, are there nominations for the office of the chair? And I'll start it off at Vice Chair Chadwell. I nominate you to be chair for the Human Relations Committee. Would you like to do the honors?
Yes, I would be willing to serve in this capacity.
Second.
No need to second.
This is an option. It's option.
All right. All right, would anyone else like to nominate for this position?
No, but I'll third if that's not.
Only-
We don't have to vote. It's already.
All right. All right, and then roll call vote.
Yes, Chair. Committee Member Lester.
Yes.
Committee Member McDonald to vote on the selection.
So yes. We're voting. We're gonna vote for the chair. Okay? So then you can say yes or no if you want it. You good?
Got it.
Okay. Let's vote.
So Committee Member McDonald, will you vote yes for, okay, thank you. Just clarifying. Committee Member Smith,
Yes.
Committee Member Webb, Vice Chair Chadwell,
Yes.
Chair Booker.
Yes.
Your turn.
All right.
Too late.
At this point, I would like to move forward with the vice chair nominations. Are there any nominations for the office of vice chair? I can get it started. I'd like to nominate Elise as vice chair. Elise, would you be willing to serve in this capacity? Yes. Any other nominations for the role of vice chair?
No, but I'll second.
All right.
It's not obligatory.
I'm willing to
Just want
get this
to-
ball moved.
We just want
Since we're all
to.
doing it,
We just want
yes.
Alright. I'm very supportive,
All right,
okay?
let's get the vote.
Okay,
I
so
need to
now
go
we'll
take a nap.
take a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair-elect. Committee Member Lester,
Yes.
Committee Member McDonald voting on Committee Member Lester as Vice Chair. Thank you. Committee Member,
Yes.
Committee Member Smith,
Yes.
Committee Member Webb,
Yes.
Chair Chadwell.
Yes. Okay. Forgot I was chair. We will now move on to item 8 on the agenda, committee and staff comments, questions, and committee reports. No action will be taken on any questions raised by the committee at this time. State law prohibits the committee from discussing or acting on substantive non-agenda items. Are there any comments, questions, announcements from the committee? Yes,
Well,
oh, committee member Webb, there we go. I was looking at that.
I keep forgetting. we
Right.
switched.
Committee member Webb.
Multicultural Day is still happening.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten about 12 applications for performers. We've got 7 or so members of the community that are going to display their items. We still need more people in booths. So we have South Asian, Mexican, Bidajan. We don't have a lot of representation from like Eastern or Western Europe yet. So if you guys know anyone out in the community, you can encourage them to either have performers bring in some of their items from their, that they display at home that are cultural. That would be great. Um, and they can find it out on the city webpage under events for Multicultural Day for the 2nd. Or ask Laurel to give me the actual link. And that's it. 4 hours long. Block your calendars so that we can MC together. And next week I'll come back, or next month I'll come back with, we'll have a schedule for time slots.
Can you remind us of the date again?
May 2nd.
Yes.
I'd like to add that I totally agree. And I also think, and this isn't, I'm not self-serving, but I think that it's wise for any city citizens group to represent not only the cultural and the racial divide, or I shouldn't say divide, but diversity, and also the age group, because I firmly believe that young people without kids and young people with very young kids, as well as elderly, need to have a way to have a voice with the city. So
Connection.
I'm serving the 90s. Since I just turned 96.
You don't look a day over 90.
It's true. I'd like to wish Committee Member McDonald a happy belated birthday.
Can we second that?
Yeah, right. Well, author. Are there Committee Member Quackon?
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, last month I had the privilege of attending Cafecito, translating prior to the city council meeting with respect to Flock, where residents were raising their concerns about the system in place. We already know what kind of took the steps that were taken after with respect to the shutdown of Flock and the end of the contract of it. But just to be aware, like that, the residents were concerned that like systems put in place despite used for a sense of security, do continue to raise a sense of concern for many of the residents, and were deeply conveyed to Chief Cantfield Sergeant. So I think it's worth noting, and I think future discussions were to happen, and I think as we will get the report back in the later months with respect to the police report, I think we're noting for the HRC to possibly wonder if this is like something worth doing outreach for as a project with our community members as a work plan item in the future. Just worth consideration, place with what we're hearing out in the community. So other than that, that's it.
Thank you for that, Committee Member Quackon. Any other committee announcements?
Just a quick question, actually. With our loss of the human library, do we have any wiggle room to throw something in, or
Not at this time. Thank you for the question. And I also would recommend it as we're headed into the work plan process to get approval from the council for a new work plan item would probably take as long as to, perhaps not quite as long, but would it be equivalent? And we did have an extra work plan project this year, so we can get started on the one that was waiting for the completion of the project, which is an LGBTQ plus event. Working with the community to understand what they would like to hold, and then hosting the event. That could be a next step.
And if I can, through the chair, I know earlier it was mentioned like the vice chair and the chair have access to Laurel a lot, but we as committee members have also access to Laurel. So please take advantage of that, especially when it comes to work items so that they're fleshed out and that we can have like fruitful conversations in the near future about this, especially if you have a plan about that, like reach out. Yeah.
That cancel.
Mhm.
Thank you. We'll now open it up to staff. Do you have any comments, announcements, questions?
Thank you, Chair. I do, as you may recall, related to the work plan, the HRC is committed to attending council neighborhood committee meetings and representing the HRC essentially. The remainder of the, or excuse me, in this fiscal year, there are 2 council neighborhood committee meetings that have been scheduled for May 28th and June 25th. These are both Thursdays.
You
The
mean
May-
May 14th?
May 14th. That's, well, 14th or 20th. They're not confirmed yet.
That's true.
So hold the dates.
That's again.
The May 14th or 28th. So there's one meeting that will be held either of those days. The confirmed date by the committee is the 28th. We may have to working or vice versa. And that's for Grant Road, Sylvan Park. Depending on venue of. And then June 25th will be the San Antonio, Range and Del Medio neighborhood meeting, and that one is confirmed and will be at the community center. The fall meetings have also been scheduled, but I will bring those up as we get further along in the year. When we're talking about next year's June 25th. And those are always Thursdays at 6:30. Usually till 8:00-ish.
Go there early for parking.
True.
Hmm,
Good to know.
Or take the bus,
Yeah, that's a bike.
rollerblade.
Starful,
Hmm.
staff,
Yeah.
do we need to like decide on somebody to attend each of these meetings, or are you just kind of putting it, making us aware of it, and as it approaches, because basically we want to have coverage of these meetings by at least one representative of the HRC. Do we usually assign that?
That's correct. We typically assign it at the beginning of the fiscal year, which is in September or October, when we're talking about work plan project assignments. In my recollection, I think that you may have been the volunteer at that time. And if that doesn't work for your schedules, it's certainly something that we can work out in this part of the agenda.
Okay, I know I went to one. I can't remember if I volunteered for all of them.
You're also welcome to attend more than one, or more than one of you is welcome to attend. There are not quorum rules unless you're standing around talking about HRC business. Do not do that. Related to the record. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to anything else for item 8?
No.
All right, moving on to item 9, adjournment. Do I need to move for this or? Okay, I'll find it. Adjourn to the next regular meeting of the Human Relations Committee scheduled for April 2nd, 2026, at 6:30 PM in the Walter Conference Room at Mountain View City Hall. Thank you for.
Any